I'm the computer man. I'm the Macintosh man with the virus scan. Moving your files all across the land. Some Photoshop filters in After Dark. Get your Microsoft Office, express your quark. Millions of colors with a VRAM chip. How about a system crash that'll make you flip? I'm the computer man. I'm saying Windows 95 is plug and pray. If it's fonts you want, you gotta go to MacWay. Log right on as my personal guest. You'll have Macintosh software on your desk. Send me an email with your request. If it's hardware you want, baby, I'm the best. I'm the computer man.
Good evening, K-Squid listeners. Good evening, Santa Cruz, Central Coast, Monterey, and beyond. My name is Luigi Opito, owner-operator of Pleasure Point Computers right by the beach here in beautiful Santa Cruz, California. And for the next hour, I am your tour guide into a world of wonder, magic, information, and, supreme frustration. That's right, we're talking about the internet and the world of computing. I am your computer man. Welcome to one of the most helpful, friendly tech counters you ever visited. And I'd like to welcome you to your Tuesday night to your local radio station, your local KSQD Santa Cruz, K-Squid 90.7 FM, also broadcasting at 89.5 and 89.7 FM, and also, of course, at ksqd.org, where we're always broadcasting live anywhere the internet reaches. So stoked to have you with us tonight. So stoked to be here with you. So everything going on in the world, a lot of things going on, a lot of new technologies, a lot of new products. Are we getting into spatial computing now? Is that what's going on? We're going to be talking about all that stuff, all the good things that are coming out, and some updates. We got programs, we got things that are happening. I have articles galore, plus emails. We're going to be going through all of it as much as we can. Squeeze it all into the hour here for you tonight. Of course, before we get started, I want to say welcome to everybody. Welcome to our old listeners and our new listeners, everyone who's found us here on the dial and online around the world. We're getting listeners from all over the place now that we're broadcasting. Well, we've been broadcasting at ksqd.org for a long time, but people are finding us left and right, and especially since we're going further down the coast now, we're getting new listeners every day. So we're stoked to have you. If you found us tonight, happy to have you with it, and get ready for some computer nonsense coming up for the next hour. It's going to be great. While you're, heading over to the KSQD website, if you're streaming online, you're going to see that beautiful big donate button at the very top. That is our way of existence. That's right, we volunteer ourselves every single day to come in here and make the station amazing, but we can't volunteer those electrons, put it through the board. We can't do it. So we got to have you come out and help us out with all that, and we would love to hear from you at ksqd.org. Hit that little donate button, give me what we feel is your fair share, and then tell us what you love about KSQD and why it's so awesome to you. I mean, we've been around for years now, and the way that we can do that and the way that we're not beholden to anybody else besides you is purely through our donate page and through the amazing donations of our listeners. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much. I will continue volunteering all I can as long as there's a station to come into, and that is because you make that happen. So thank you so much for having that happen, and jump on the website, give your fair share, and we thank you for it. If you'd like to email me or reach out to me after the show, feel free to email me, Luigi, Luigi, at ksqd.org. That's Luigi at ksqd.org. And if you're tuning in, you're like, what is this Computer Man show? What is this? Well, we are a show all about updates, new devices, testimonials, scams, and, well, we do our call-ins too. We are normally a call-in show. Tonight we're going to be having those phone lines closed. We got a lot of things to catch up on, so we're not going to be doing any call-ins tonight, but next week we will be back to our call-ins and getting a hold of everybody and seeing if anybody has any questions live on the air. You can always give us we're here every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. Our phone number normally 831-900-5773, but you can shoot me over an email right now at Luigi, Luigi, at ksqd.org. Okay, so I want to kind of get into this. We kind of talked about these a little bit, but they're getting more and more and more. I just want to kind of briefly go over them real quick. If you can, the best thing you can do for some of our older family members, etc., is letting them know that there's newer scams out there, that there are scams coming that are strange and weird, and they may be coming from somebody that sounds exactly like you. There are a number of very strange, weird, grandma got a call from me today scams, saying that, this, like there's this one that says, grandma got a hit from me. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. It says, someone posting as me called my grandmother stating I was in jail, that I hit a 7-month pregnant woman and fled. They need $28,000 to send to the bail bondsman and stuff. And they do it in a way that just like all these, it makes you flustered. You don't have any time to think, and so you just hand over credit cards, you hand over processing fees, you hand over whatever they're asking you for because they're just trying to get it solved, right? And it's scary. So there's a number of them. My mother got a call that I was in a car accident. And a lot of times they'll call people and they're like, "Well, I don't have any money to give you, so let me call some family members." They go, "Oh, no, blah, blah, we need this right now from you, especially." Or they'll throw some weird thing out there, and you're like, "You don't want me to call anybody to see if I can get the money? You need the money directly from me?" Like, okay, red flag. So sometimes being broke is great because then that way you can't get scammed because you don't have any money to give out. But there is a lot of these deep fake voice things that are coming through that are very, very strange. They are doing exactly what you wouldn't want them to be doing. It sounds like you. They say it in a way that, they go, "Grandma," and then grandma will respond back with, like, "Teddy," and you go, "Oh, now we got the name. Now we know what the name is." It's all, again, boiled down to social engineering. So the best thing you could possibly do is just educate your loved ones, educate your family members, and if you can, have a phrase, something that proves that you are you, a short sentence, a strange word that your whole family knows that may not be able to be guessed by anybody else. If you can have a phrase or something like that you can say, "Well, "Hey, Teddy, I want to make sure that you're you." And it's like, "Hey, Grandma, yeah, this is me." Or my magic phrase is, "The bears in the woods," or something. Anything. It could be anything. As long as you all know what it is, it just is another step to make it so that these people don't randomly scare the life out of a family member and then force them to pay. It's hard. So, but that's one of the main scams that are going on right now, and it's just besides the natural ones, getting these text messages from UPS and USPS and all this stuff. So I've got a couple more that we're going to talk. Actually, there was one more I wanted to talk about. I printed it out here. Hang out with me for just a second. Let's find that. Yes. So this one was from Huntington Bank. So of course I don't have a Huntington Bank. I don't even know where Huntington Bank is, but Huntington Bank texted me saying, "Huntington Bank, did you purchase $475 at AZX store? If it wasn't you, cancel." And then there's two things on here that I really enjoyed actually from this scam. And again, this scam is obviously a scam, but I like getting things like this because I like seeing what's going on out in the world. I question everything, as everyone should. Anything comes through your phone, anything comes through your email. If something coming up saying, "Hey, this happened. Hey, you need to do this. Hey, you owe this money. Hey," just take that second, right? You look at the time that it came in, see if it came a day or two ago. You run through that process with your body, and so you don't jump on and just react, right? And it's all about just taking that moment. And it's hard. It's easy for me to say on this side, sitting right now with no scams coming in my inbox at this moment. But when that happens, if something is a little heavy or you're a little more stressed out than normal because the world is a little heavy, it can hit you and you don't catch it. So this one I got from the text message was from Huntington Bank, like I said. The text message, so at the very top where it says it came from, it wasn't from a text message. You can email people. Basically, you can text message people using an email address. If you have their Google Play email address, or if you have their Apple ID and you type that Apple ID into the text message space at the very top of your phone, you can send somebody a message based on their email address rather than just being sent based on their phone number. So I got this one. It was not from a phone number. It was from an email address, and it was Huntington-alert at rcobanpanama.com. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound like a bank email address, but I was like, okay, whatever. So in the body of the thing that says, did you purchase $475 at AZX store? If it wasn't, you cancel. And it has a link to click on to cancel. That link is https://goshfreakingdangit.com/Huntington/YHX. So the website that Huntington Bank is using is goshfreakingdangit.com. I don't think that's an official bank, website, email, something. So that absolutely would throw me off and go, hey, or at least throw me the loop and go, that's fake. I don't have to deal with it, right? That and the fact I don't have a Huntington Bank account. But this type of thing can come across to somebody that does have a Huntington Bank account, and it can really mess with you. It can scare you a lot, especially if you only have like $500 in your account or $300 in your account, and you just got charged $475, right? So it's freaky, and it can get you. So That was the other one I just want to talk. Again, you can look. It's the same way with an email address, right? Look at the email address. Hit that little down arrow if you're on Apple Mail and see who the email came from. Hover your mouse over that to or that the from area on your email and see where that message is. PayPal, Washington Mutual, or not Washington Mutual, Wells Fargo, all these banks. Wish we had Washington Mutual still. All these banks, will have email addresses that come from that email address. Luigi at pleasurepointcomputers.com. It will be from that URL. If I, a small 2-person computer shop, can have my own URL, a bank or something like PayPal or something like a huge organization like Amazon will have their own URL at the end of it, right? Like it'll say at amazon.com, at service.com, at something.com that makes sense. So if you see that and it doesn't say that, it's probably not real and you can probably ignore it. Probably. But again, just go to your app and sign in and look and see if there's anything weird, and that will answer it once and for all without you having to click on anything, without you having to get any trouble, and it will only take a minute rather than taking an hour of trying to get back out from a scam. So, okay, a couple things that I saw just kind of in my passing real quick that I wanted to mention. I had a friend that was looking for an audiobook, and they're like, oh, I need to read this book for a class. I don't have a lot of time to read it. I was looking to get an audiobook, and audiobooks are great. Audiobooks are awesome if you have a lot of driving to do and you want to still listen to your book or read through something, or if you just don't have time to physically sit in front of the book, you can get an audiobook and listen to it. It's a cool thing. Be out in the garden or wherever you are and listen to the book. But a lot of places don't have audiobooks, or if you don't already have like an Audible account through Amazon or through any of these other services, then it's going to cost you extra money to get an audiobook just for maybe one book possibly, right? But not if you have a Spotify Premium account. A lot of people have Spotify Premium. A lot of people pay for it for their listening pleasures and their music, etc. And but Spotify Premium also includes audiobooks, which is really cool. So again, you don't have to go to Audible or anything like that. You most likely might be able to find the book inside of Spotify's service. So if you have Spotify Premium, do a search and see if you can find the book that you're looking for inside Spotify and maybe save yourself a little bit of money by not having to go over to Audible. Thought that was kind of cool. Another thing I got sent by somebody, evidently they had a MacBook screen, and their MacBook screen is all messed up. There was this time when MacBooks used a very weird cover on their literal screen. Like you open up your MacBook, you look at your screen, and there's like a glass overlay or there's a material that's in between you and the actual LCD screen, right? The clear plastic or clear glass material. And for a while, that was having problems. So this person wrote me, said 70% isopropyl alcohol will ruin your MacBook screen despite Apple recommending it. And this person wrote me and said, hey, I tried cleaning my MacBook with the 71% rubbing alcohol like Apple says on their website, and it took off the oleophobic coating on my screen. And they sent a photo, and sure enough, I've seen a number of these laptops where they almost looks like it had been splotched with something that's like, it's clear, but the splotching is still, splotchy. And you go, well, what is that? What exactly am I looking at there? And you try to rub it off, and it's in the plastic. It's like in that stuff, right? So what do you do? And at that point, yeah, you can't really do much of anything with that. When I started actually going back and forth with this person, it looked like there was actually that machine was actually a 2017 MacBook Pro based on the serial number. And in 2017, it wasn't the isopropyl alcohol that ruined that screen. What it was that screen in 2017 had an issue already. I don't know if any of you remember, but there was this whole recall that Apple had back in 2017, 18, 19 for their screen coatings because the coatings were coming apart. And most likely it was already having a delamination problem, and the 70% alcohol that this person used to wipe the screen down most likely just exacerbated that problem. And it was already it just pushed that delamination issue further and caused more problems. They used to have a repair program, Apple used to be able to repair that. I don't think that they do anymore. But if for some reason, you could always just do a quick Google search. I haven't actually personally searched for it. I don't believe the service is still up and running. Apple usually shuts that stuff down pretty quick, and they say, nope, that never happened, and move along, which is nuts, but that's what they do. So yes, if you're cleaning your screen, what I usually say, 70% alcohol still on the Apple website, yes, is being recommended. What I will do, first of all, never spray your screen. If you're gonna clean your screen, get a clean microfiber cloth, or a clean glass cleaning cloth if you have glasses, that kind of stuff. And you're gonna want to use something that has no ammonia. Usually what we use is we use a very light, we use one spray of it's called Windex Crystal Rain, and Windex Crystal Rain has no ammonia in it. The ammonia will actually eat away plastics and other materials, but one light spray of that, if you want to clean even the keyboard and the screen, that would work. Also, if you have distilled water, just a spray of distilled water or filtered water on a microfiber cloth, and then take the microfiber cloth and wipe it with that. Again, clean microfiber or a new microfiber, and we want to use basically the most of nothing if we can. If you have the distilled water, that's one of the best ways to clean. But just isopropyl alcohol, it can do stuff, and as soon as it starts, you're in it. So be careful, and if you need to clean it, just make sure you're careful again. And water is the best. And again, never actually spray the device. Always spray the cloth and then use it from that. Okay. Another thing I want to talk about real quick, just a quick PSA, I guess, more than anything, is evidently Amazon right now, if you're trying to recover an account, they are requiring that if you want to recover the account, that you have to have two-factor authentication already enabled on the account. Otherwise, they're going to either send you into some type of loop, or it's not going to help you. I had a client that talked to me about this that said that they were trying to recover their account, and Amazon wouldn't help them because they didn't have two-factor authentication turned on. So right now, if you're not doing anything, jump onto your Amazon account on your app or do a quick search online for two-factor authentication and figure out how to turn it on based on your app. And when I say figure out, I meant like if you're on Android, if you're on your phone, if you're on a website. They kind of move the steps around. I don't have them in front of me. If you need help turning on your two-factor authentication, please email me, luigi@ksqd.org, and I'd be happy to go through that with you. But the two-factor authentication is very important. It's basically one of the it's not foolproof, nothing's foolproof, but it is one of the best ways to possibly thwart anybody from getting into your account. Unless you're some high official government person that has something, that has their phone spoofed, the two-factor authentication stops there. Someone gets on your account, they try to log in with your username and your password because they have both, let's say. They get on, it says, hey, I need your two-factor authentication code, at which you are now texted a code, which you did not ask for, and you now know somebody's either trying to get into your account or you are trying to get into your account, and now you have that code. The idea is that then it stops there if someone nefarious is trying to get into your account. Because you have the code, they don't, they can't put it in, done, and that's it. So two-factor authentication is really important on any of your accounts. It's really annoying to go through every time you're logging in. I know. But in 2024, everybody is coming at you with all sorts of random stuff, and the bots and all the programs that try to come at you with this stuff. So turn on two-factor authentication, and also if you have an issue, Amazon will then help you more because you have the two-factor authentication turned on. So yeah, okay. All right, let's get into some current events going on right now. Let's see what we've got for current events. Let me make sure I got my email questions separated here so we can get back to those when we need to. Excellent. All right, let's do that. All right, so first let's talk about iOS 18. New operating system coming out for the iPhone. And it is supposedly going to be one of the biggest changes in the software updates history. What does that mean? Well, I guess it means that Apple has these huge plans for iOS 18, which can only mean, who knows, for the end user, right? Because if you are an end user and you've ever upgraded your operating system, you know that sometimes things don't go quite well. And things happen with those individual types of problems, etc. Right? So let's take a look and see what is going on. Of course, this operating system we're being told it's one of the biggest changes. Everything won't be known until we actually get it. But they're saying it's the biggest in the company's history. So one of the first things that's coming, evidently, is RCS support. That is a huge thing. RCS support is the whole green text, blue text thing between Android and iPhones. guaranteed you have a friend that has an Android phone if you're on an iPhone, or vice versa, right? You're an Android person that has friends that have iPhones. And that back and forth, when you send those messages, when it goes green text, blue text, sometimes you miss stuff. Sometimes you miss photos. Sometimes photos don't come across correctly. Sometimes the emojis don't come across correctly. Sometimes when you reply, it'll throw a whole entire extra text message thing into the reply when you're messing around with it like that. That happens. So RCS support is coming. It should result in a number of improvements, including higher resolution photo and videos between Android and iOS operating systems, better audio messages or actual audio messages that come through, right? Typing indicators so that when you're typing, it'll show up on the other side. A lot of things that, all this stuff that we get iMessage to iMessage or Android to Android, we are now going to be getting cross-platform, which is huge. It's a big thing. Also, read receipts. Another big thing. A lot of people have and need read receipts. I personally don't have that turned on. I don't need that, but some people do. And that will also supposedly work cross-platform now. So Wi-Fi messaging between iPhones and Android devices. This is another thing that's gigantic. A lot of people, have to be on data or send an SMS text message in order to get to an iPhone or vice versa, right? That will no longer be. You can be on Wi-Fi, the other person can be on Wi-Fi, and it will use Wi-Fi to communicate between those two messages. All of this is inside the RCS standards, called RCS. Also improved group chats, including the ability for iPhone users to leave a conversation that included Android users. That's a big one because a lot of people can't do that right now. And there you get stuck in group text messages and you go, I don't want to be hearing any more of this. And you can mute it. You can mute the notifications, but they still come through. So that will also be something that will be able to be turned off. Also, the big thing with, iMessage to iMessage or the Android messaging back and forth is also encryption and security. And that also will be upgraded with RCS standards with an improved encryption matrix compared to just standard SMS text messaging. Again, this is all already available for iPhone to iPhone or for Android to Android. And, it's a whole blue bubble, green bubble, right? So now it's also going to be available in third-party messaging apps such as WhatsApp and Telegram. So it's going to be crazy, and it'll extend all those features to green bubbles in the Messages app. So that alone for iOS 18 is a huge, huge thing that a lot of people will feel and actually use. Sometimes we get these things on our phones and we don't use it, or we don't even know why we're getting it or what we need it for. This is going to actually be something that we could actually use and really get into it. So the next thing that they're going to be talking about also is a smarter Siri, evidently. If any of you have any of these Google smart homes or Alexa devices, etc., they seem to be getting dumber. Theoretically, Siri is getting better. They say it's going to be using future generative AI technology. I don't know if that's good. It's still pretty new. But it should, quote, improve how Siri and Messages app can field questions and autocomplete sentences. Cool. So that's cool. It said also that generative AI surged in popularity back in 2022, blah, 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 ChatGPT, so that they're going to kind of incorporate that kind of stuff. But they're incorporating this large language model into Siri to let users automate complete tasks and features that would be like more deeply involved with like the shortcuts app and stuff. Like I have an app on my phone that are a shortcut. If you haven't used a shortcut on your phone, they're actually incredibly helpful. They just take a little bit to get set up. It's kind of a higher level feature that your phone does, and it's basically a fancy 2024 macro. I have a shortcut that's on my phone that I hit one button and it will take the GPS location of where I am right now. It will then run it through Google Maps, Apple Maps, and Waze, and get my from wherever I am to the passageway to home. And so if it will find a map, it'll look through those three services to find out what the quickest way is home, and then will give me an average of those three map apps and give me a time. And then that time that comes out, that it says, okay, it'll take me, 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get there. It'll then apply that to the clock and add 20 minutes to the clock, add 15 minutes to the clock, and then put that into a text message that I have pre-described and said, hey, how's it going, blah, 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 blah. I will be arriving at home at, and then puts the time in that spot, and blah, 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 and I use it to send it to my loved ones. I use it to send it to let them know when I'm going to be home. But it's a one-button ETA for home, and that's a shortcut. That's really cool. And so that kind of stuff supposedly will be able to be integrated. And right now, I can't tell Siri to run that verbally. I have to actually hit the app button on my phone. Theoretically, with this new update, we might be able to actually tell Siri to run that shortcut, and I don't have to touch anything on my phone. So kind of cool, but again, if people are really going to use it or not, no big deal. So those so far are the latest things that are coming out for iOS 18. If you're in iOS 17, remember that new security feature that has come out is also in there, and it's under the Face ID section. I'm actually going to go to my phone real quick, just so I don't pretend I actually know exactly where it is. So there is, if you're on iOS 17.3.1, I believe. Let me see. I'm on the latest one. 17.3. So iOS 17.3 has the latest security feature in it. If you go to settings and then you go under settings, go to Face ID and passcode, put in your passcode there, and then you're going to scroll down, and it's called Stolen Device Protection. And of course, don't have to turn it off if you don't want to, but I would recommend turning it on. Stolen Device Protection will make it so that in case the latest scam of somebody coming up and, hey, I want to give you something, I want to do this, they'll take your phone, and immediately as they're typing something in, like their phone number or something, they're actually going into your messages, or I'm sorry, not into your messages, into your settings, turning your Find My iPhone off, changing your passcode, changing your lock screen passcode, changing your Apple ID passcode, and all of a sudden, and basically locking you out of your phone, and then taking your phone, I guess, is the next step. So if you can, you go into Face ID and passcode, turn on Stolen Device Protection, and what that will do is if you're in a place that's not normal, like your home or your office, like your work, then if you need to change your Apple ID or passcode, it will need your Face ID, and it will also, if you're not at home or at work, it will actually ask you for an entire hour to pass, and then you have to do it again in order for you to change your Apple ID or passcode. So it makes it so these people can't do it instantly in the bar and then take your phone all of a sudden. It's kind of a creepy thing, but that's kind of what's going on in the world right now. So if you can, turn that on. Again, it's under Settings, Face ID and Passcode. Turn on Stolen Device Protection. It's about halfway down that screen when you scroll down. Okay, let's see what else is going on. All right, and before we go to halfway break here, let's see what our next little article is. Oh, so Microsoft is getting rid of WordPad. What? I use WordPad all the time. There's Notepad and WordPad. Notepad is the one that has like no anything. There's no you can turn your fonts up and down, I think. There's no formatting. There's no when you open up something in RTF, it won't see the spacing and stuff like that in Notepad. WordPad actually has, bold, italicized, you can center, you can, put bullet points and stuff like that, and they're getting rid of it. It's been around since 1995, Windows 95, which means it's actually been around since like 93 or so, and they're getting rid of it, which is sad. I don't know why, but evidently this new test build of Windows 11 Canary doesn't have WordPad as a text editor. They say they're calling it a legacy feature, indicating that it no longer is in development, therefore will not be included in future releases or releases of Windows 11. And yeah, it says starting with this build, the WordPad and People apps will no longer be installed on a clean OS installation. In the future version, WordPad will be removed when updated. WordPad cannot be reinstalled. WordPad is a legacy Windows feature. And I think, again, just to put on my stupid tinfoil hat, I think they're doing this because WordPad can get you by. WordPad works as a typer. I use it all the time. In fact, when I type my show, when I save things throughout the week and I see things, etc., I put them into like a little notes thing, and then I drop them into an old school version of WordPad, basically on my laptop, because I don't want any formatting stuff screwing with anything. I'm taking things from a lot of different sources, and all these different sources have different formatting rules already embedded in them. But when I copy them onto a program like WordPad or Notepad, it kind of strips all of the formatting stuff away. So you don't have to worry about it, and I really like that. So, yeah. So they say WordPad is a successor to a text editor called Microsoft Write. WordPad became available as part of Windows 95. Since then, WordPad has been present in every version of Windows, providing users with basic text editing capabilities. And again, I think it's just another cash grab for them to go at getting people into Office and getting into their 365 subscription. So you have to pay Microsoft until the end of time to type a paper, and it's just wrong, man. It's just wrong. So. That's wrong. It's super wrong. So I don't know if Notepad's going to still be around, but again, that's the Windows 11 Canary version. So Canary is their kind of like their prototype hidden name. They're like their secret name for their project. Like they name projects secret names so they don't so people don't know what they're working on, etc. This is their secret name, Project this Canary. So, and there are people in the Windows Insider programs that go through this stuff and dig through and go, hey, wait a minute, why is this gone? And let everybody know. And then usually the backlash comes back to Microsoft. People freak out and they go, oh, okay, well, we added it back or something if need be. So, yeah. Well, we've reached about the halfway point here in the Computer Man Show here on KSQD Santa Cruz, K-Squid 90.7 FM, 89.5 and 89.7 FM, and on ksqd.org. We have a quick underwriting announcement to get to real fast. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. KSQD thanks the Monterey Bay Air Resources District for supporting this program. The Electric Bicycle Incentive Program offers $750 to all residents of Monterey, San Benito, and Santa Cruz counties as incentive to purchase a Class 1, 2, or 3 electric bicycle from local bike shops. More information about the Electrical Bicycle Incentive Program at the website mbard.org or phone 831-647-9411. Thank you, Monterey Bay Air Resources District, for supporting community radio. K-Squid. And welcome back to the Computer Man Show here on KSQD Santa Cruz, K-Squid 90.7 FM and ksqd.org, broadcasting all over the Bay and down to Monterey and past. Pretty cool. Welcome back. We're here, of course, coming up at 7 o'clock. We got Be in the Night coming up, so stick around for that. Always say that all the jazz is good to get all that computer nonsense out of your brain, especially after we've been taxing all this thing for the past hour. So let's stick around for that. Be in the Night coming up at 7 o'clock. And don't miss it. But we're back here with the Computer Man Show, and we're going to get back into, I have a couple more current events here, and then we're going to get into some email questions, and then off we go. So let's see. First of all, I want to talk about AMD has a new CPU, a new central processing unit that is blowing everything away right now. Evidently, this new CPU, so just to give some basis or whatever, how cool this is, AMD and Intel both have been the major CPU manufacturers for years. They have been the main ones forever. Apple now has their own M2 architecture, and back in the day, in the PowerBook days and stuff, Apple also had a lot of their own architecture, etc. But now it's basically Intel, AMD, and I guess Apple if you want to include their stuff, but they don't sell it to anybody. So AMD and Intel are the two main chip manufacturers for PCs. AMD has always been one step ahead of Intel just because they were around first before Intel came out, and they've been kind of going back and forth ever since. With the new AMD chipset, which is the Ryzen chipset opposed to the Pentium chipset, AMD has Ryzen, Intel has Pentium. AMD had just released its new Ryzen 8000G APU, which is a CPU with an integrated GPU, a CPU being central processing unit, GPU being graphics processing unit. So if you have a gaming machine or you're doing a lot of video editing or you need something that's going to be rendering video or you're doing 3D modeling, anything that has that type of architecture to it, you want to have a graphics processing unit that's actually processing the graphics while the central processing unit is processing everything else, just the standard running stuff. It's kind of like having a really nice stereo in your car, when the stereo really doesn't have anything to do with the car. It doesn't have anything to do with the functionality of the car. The car is doing its own thing, right? It's running the engine, it's running, all the brakes and the ancillary stuff, and then the radio is like kind of like this really important accessory inside the car to give you the experience of you driving around. The graphics processor kind of does the same thing where it is doing all the graphics offloading while the computer and the CPU is doing everything else. So to have a integrated, normally, obviously, also these two units are usually separate. The graphics card is usually gigantic, this big, huge blade of a thing that goes inside the machine, and then everything else is on the motherboard. So to have them both into one chip, which has been done for a long time, machines that are very powerful and stuff will have onboard video. You'll see them, a lot of laptops theoretically have all onboard video because everything's built into it. Some of them have separate graphics processors, but you kind of get the same idea. So this Ryzen 8000G, which is an APU that has a CPU with an integrated GPU, is showing that it is crazy strong, like incredible gaming performance without the need of a separate graphics card. Why is this important? Right now, a graphics card costs half the cost of a normal computer. You build everything, if you want to build the motherboard, the CPU, the RAM, the power supply, the case, all the things that go inside, the operating system, the hard drive, any of that kind of stuff, that's half your cost. And then you want to put a graphics card in there, that's the other half. The graphics card is sometimes running anywhere from $400 all the way up to $1,600, $1,800 for some of these crazy graphics cards. So to have something that's integrated together, all in one on one chip, and then to have it work well, it's kind of some holy grail stuff. So they're showing 60 frames per second on Cyberpunk 2077, which is a very powerful, strong program currently. And also it's showing that basically the new chips can deliver the sort of gaming performance that AMD was claiming that they could, because everyone was like, yeah, right. And now they're showing, yeah, we have benchmarks that are showing. So this 8700G is, or actually, I'm sorry, the 8000 is the beginning. The 8700G is the highest tier model of the new range. They have an 8600, 85, 83. But it's an 8-core, 16-thread chip, like the Ryzen 7. However, these two chips will feature very basic integrated graphics opposed to the 8700, which has an incredible amount of graphics on it. So an idea, just to give you some prices real quick. A graphics card right now with 32, what's it called, RDNA CUs, which makes it a much more powerful processor, but less money. They're running around $269, $329 or so right now for that. The fact that you can just get onto something that you don't have to pay even an extra $200 is incredible. That's amazing. So, yeah, and also evidently it can be kept cool and quiet with a simple cooler. You don't need to have some crazy fan cooler that a lot of these older Ryzens used to have, because they used to use a lot of heat. So that's really cool. It's coming out. There's a lot of things that are coming with it. Evidently, this was just under a week ago that this happened, and I'm stoked. That kind of stuff is great for people who want, because you can always get a graphics card. You can always get one, but the fact that people needed to get a graphics card stopped a lot of people who don't have all that extra money from getting a decent machine that they can do things like streaming, or they can do things like play that really exciting video game that they want at the highest resolution and get all the colors and all the movement out of their monitor. So pretty cool. And again, it's just more technology coming out that allows us to do more with less. And that also means less cost for you later down the road. So that's really nice. Apple has declared its last MacBook Pro with an optical drive is now obsolete. Granted that the laptop hadn't been for sale for more than 7 years, but again, it's an end of an era. This is the last MacBook that exists. If you have a MacBook that has a CD-ROM drive in it, it is absolutely now no more updates. There are no more security patches. It is no more in Apple's very expensive eye. So they announced that they considers the mid-2012 13-inch MacBook Pro obsolete. It was the last MacBook Pro to include an optical drive for playing CDs or DVDs, meaning that any machine that has an optical drive in it is now obsolete. Again, they stopped selling them in 2016. It was available for a while as a budget option in the Pro lineup. Then they just removed the optical drive and all the other ones. And of course, they did that for space. I mean, the amount of space the optical drive takes up when you take the bottom of one of these MacBooks off is incredible. Like, it takes up 40%, 35% of the available real estate underneath the hood. So it's good that there's no optical drives. You can always add one. They still sell an external drive, the super drives, that can read and burn CDs. But it also hasn't really been updated in ages. It still uses USB-A, while most Mac stuff is still using USB-C. So you need a little adapter and stuff to use it. But I just installed a CD-ROM drive, or attached a CD-ROM drive to a brand new Mac the other day. Everything still works, and it's just fine. It's just an extra piece of software or an extra piece of hardware that you have to attach to your MacBook, which, if you've had a MacBook in the past couple of years, you should be very used to, because everything is now dongle related. So yeah, it's really weird. Optical drives have just kind of gone away. There are still people, there's hardly any the car I got a year and a half ago has no CD-ROM or no CD player in it. It's an extra $350 option to add it, and it adds it to the center console, something weird. So it's just the sign of the times. A lot of things are moving along, going away and changing, and one of the things that is going away and changing is optical drives. Weird, but so Mac has now said officially that, that's basically an official thing of 7-year lifespan on these Macs, and they're starting to get less and less too. So, yeah. Also on the Apple side, it's a little more positive. Apple is finally allowing full versions of Chrome and Firefox to run on the iPhone. With the new 17.4 that just came out, Apple's making a huge change to the way its mobile operating system works in order to comply with new regulations in the EU. Again, thank you, EU. Anytime this stuff comes out that helps us out, it's because of the European Union. The United States-based law system does not understand anything tech-based, or if they do, they're completely skirting and just not paying attention to any of it. So the EU pushes forward anything that actually is decent, like universal chargers, removable batteries, now allowing full versions of Chrome and Firefox to run the phone, opposed to some, scaled back garbage version that keeps feeding off of Safari or something. Again, the EU has pushed forward, and it's moving forward with us as well. Basically, Apple's allowed a lot of browsers, but only one browser engine. WebKit it's called WebKit, and it's the technology that basically makes Safari function, but it's far from the only engine on the market. Chrome is based on an engine called Blink, which is also part of the Chromium project used by most other browsers that you see. Edge, Brave, Arc, Opera, etc. Mozilla's runs on its own engine called Gecko. So those engines weren't allowed to be run on an iPhone. You could run the shell of Chrome, you could run the shell of Firefox, but it's still running the same engine that Safari was running in the background. Which means that a lot of the features and extensions that run inside those applications wouldn't work. They just don't. But with 17.4, the new operating system that just came out, the one that we were talking about that has the security feature in your Face ID X section, it changes now. So anyone with a browser or building an in-app browser for their app can use a non-WebKit engine if they want. Of course, the developer will have to be authorized by Apple to switch engines after meeting specific criteria and committing to a number of ongoing privacy and security mitigations, but it's coming. So, and Apple is not happy about it. It says the result of the DMA's requirements, it means that EU users will be confronted with a list of default browsers before they have the opportunity to understand the options available to them. So it's basically like, hey, they're saying, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get into trouble or something. And I don't think you will. I think you'll be just fine. It just happens to be that Apple doesn't have complete control over their browser again. And they're losing more and more control of their entire closed-loop operating system. It's the same thing that they were talking about with, I don't remember the term that they use, but it's basically where you can go, like an Apple user can go to Google Play and download a Google Play app onto their Apple phone. And from that Apple phone, you can then use a Google Play app. And the idea is that the App Store is very locked down. They know what apps are on there. They know what the apps are doing in the background. But with something like this, with the Google Play Store widening up, they can't police everything, right? So then they're kind of stuck, and there could be more issues. I, with my iPhone, have no reason to go out to Google Play. Granted, when I go to people's homes and I do house calls and things like that, I actually have an Android phone. It doesn't have any SIM card or anything in it. I purely use it for its Wi-Fi capabilities because of the extra antennas built into it. So I can do scanning, like extra Wi-Fi scanning and stuff that I can't do on my iPhone. So maybe it might be nice to be able to download those apps and use my iPhone, but I don't know if my iPhone has the antennas in it, etc. So I'll probably still end up using that second phone. And I don't use it all the time. It's only for certain calls, right? So, it's whatever it is. I think it's I guess kind of nice to have the option, but again, I like the security and the stability of my iPhone because it is so locked down, but I understand why it's locked down, and so I don't get too angry about it, but other people are. So, but the European Union doing more stuff, says we're likely to see more revamped browsers in the App Store as soon as iOS 17.4 drops in March. We're on 17.3 right now. But Google, for one, has been working on a non-WebKit versions of Chrome for at least a year, and European users are about to get a serious browser war on their iPhones. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that, because most likely they're going to be, I don't know what Apple's going to do. I don't know how they're going to push it. I don't know if they're going to do type of thing like Microsoft does this thing where when you want to, they push you to use Edge. That's their main browser that comes with their operating system. They're like, oh, you should use Edge, but everyone hates Edge. It's terrible. So when you switch to Chrome or you switch to Firefox or you switch to Brave or the Tor browser, it says, hey, when you go to the search to find it, it goes, oh, Windows 10 is, really prefers Edge, like right on top of the website. And then you download the thing. Oh, as you're downloading, hey, Windows 10 really prefers Edge. And then you go to switch it to your default browser. Are you sure you want to switch it? And you say yes. And it goes, okay, one last chance. Are you sure? And you're like, guys, stop. And I what they're doing. They're just trying to they're trying to recoup their money, trying to recoup their revenue because they have all their advertising dollars filtered through Edge, and they're trying to make sure they don't lose it, right? But I think they already surpassed Apple as like the largest company in the world. So Microsoft is doing just fine, but also it could be because of this kind of shady stuff. So yeah. Last thing I wanted to mention real quick before we get into the email questions, Bamboo Labs. If you have a 3D printer, that is made by Bamboo Labs. There is a major recall update that they're offering refunds on that 3D printer. They're saying if you have one, turn it off now. Unplug it from the wall now. It is officially recalled. To ensure our customers' absolute safety, we are extending the recall to include all A1 printers currently on the market, regardless of their condition. Companies offering 2 pass for A1 owners who purchase their unit directly from the Bamboo Lab online. They actually, if you return it, you get $80 towards a new Bamboo Lab printer on top of the full refund. Or you can wait for a replacement heat bed and receive a $120 voucher good for any item in the store, such as filament or nozzles. You also get a 6-month warranty extension as well. So evidently there's an easy repair process, etc. But evidently some 3D printing YouTubers began receiving notices from Bamboo Labs that all A1 3D printers should be turned off and not used until the company makes an official announcement, which they did. It said that, a very small portion of A1 printers had a safety issue where the cable that brings power to the heated bed could become damaged and then lead to a short circuit or power loss, which then could also create fires and all sorts of crazy stuff. So Micro Center, the brick and mortar store that we don't have in California, actually I don't think we have them in California. Anyway, I haven't ever been to one. It would be cool to go to one. It's like Fry's or something. The brick and mortar technology retailer that sells Bamboo Lab products in the United States has pulled all of its A1 units from the shelves and will be accepting any models they sold back as returns. So if you have an A1 Bamboo Lab 3D printer, and we're talking about a 3D filament printer, for 3D modeling and 3D rapid prototyping. If you have one of these devices, cool. You probably had it for a little while, and that was a great time to upgrade. You'll get a full refund for it, plus $80 towards a new lab printer, or if you just like your printer a lot and you want to get the replacement heat bed, they'll send that to you as well and give you a $120 voucher towards anything on their store. So that's pretty huge. That seems like a company trying to make sure that everyone's taken care of. So that's okay. And things like that happen. You have a device that heats things up to over 100 degrees. You have a hot extruder melting plastic. And yeah, if that little cable comes loose, that could be really bad. So it's good that they're being honest and upfront with it. So yeah, let's get into it here. See what's going on out in the real world with some email questions here in the last, about 10, 12 minutes of the show. Let's see what is going on. Okay. All right, so it says, my PC is getting a blue screen of death. This has been going on for a year or so, but I've been many times where my PC freezes. I can't hit any buttons, so I just hold on the power button and reboot. All computers, if your computer freezes and you cannot move the mouse or anything like that, all computers have an 8-second hardware shutoff built into them by default. It's like an IEEE standardization thing, where if you hold down the power button for 8 seconds, it will cut power to anything and everything on your computer right then. But you have to hold the power button down for 8 seconds. A lot of times if you have to hold down more than that, something else is further damaged. But anyway, so I hold down the power button and reboot. It would happen once a day maybe. Then my PC auto upgraded to Windows 11, and the freezing got much worse to where it was 8 to 10 times a day. Windows 11's fine. I don't really care for it. I'm still on Windows 10, but also Windows 10 is now 9 years old, so that's crazy. It took them 7 years to get up and running, so at least decently. Anyway, I tried to revert the upgrade and go back to Windows 10, but I got the blue screen of death while I was reverting to Windows 11, and this became a cycle because it would blue screen, restart the process back to Windows 10, then it would get a blue screen, and now I'm not sure how to fix the error. I tried the BIOS, and even if I try to remove all the files, I still get a blue screen. It's like, okay, whoa. So we were having a system problem. Then it got upgraded to an entirely new operating system. So you're like, okay, so the problem was there, and then we upgraded that problem, right, into Windows 11. Windows 11 then is like, holy moly, this is a huge problem. I'm having all sorts of issues on this, that, and the other, and started blue screening like crazy. And so then you brought it back from that super problem now back to where it was trying to get back to where it was, and now we're stuck in some type of recursive loop. Yeah, so blue screens usually happen, they're usually IRQ faults. And IRQ is basically like a lane on the freeway, right? There's, I think, 13 lanes on the freeway, maybe 11 lanes on the freeway. And if you have more than one car at exactly the same place and the same time on the freeway, what happens? We get into an accident, right? It's standard stuff. But in the computers, it's obviously not standard stuff. That doesn't make any sense. But in this machine, I went back and asked, like, hey, what is your blue screen telling you? Usually on a blue screen, there's an error message. What is your error message telling you? And the person says the system service exception, what failed, NTFS system. So NTFS is your hard drive's subsystem. You can either have a FAT32, FAT16, exFAT, NTFS, AKIP. There's all these acronyms. And what that does is that when you get a box with a brand new hard drive that has nothing in it, you then put it in your computer, and the hard drive's like, I don't know what I'm in. I don't know if I'm in a PC. I don't know if I'm in a Mac. I don't know if I'm in an F-16 fighter. I don't know if I'm in some specialty server somewhere. I don't know what I am. Tell me what system you want. You're like, oh, well, you're in a computer, so we're going to put NTFS on there so we can get large file structures. Or we're in a Mac, so we're going to put a journaled system subset on there. So NTFS is the way that the system is set up so that the files can be placed onto that NTFS system. Unfortunately, that issue probably means your hard drive is failing. One of the first things we do anytime we get a machine in, no matter what the issue is from the customer, we check the hardware first. We check the smart status, the actual physical status of the hard drive, and make sure that it is functioning properly and does not have any failures. If the hard drive has failures, you can fight blue screens and new operating system installs and all sorts of stuff until you're blue in the face, and you'll never fix it because the hardware is incorrect. It's like, going back to car analogies, it's like going to the racetrack and sitting on the start line and flooring it with your 1,000 horsepower amazing Tesla, and you're getting blown away by some Ford Escort. And you're like, what is going on? Why is that little 120 horsepower car beating my 1,000 horsepower car? And then you realize your tires are flat, right? It's the simplest things first. We got to make sure that everything is okay before we hit the track. And that's what we need to do here. We need to make sure the hard drive is okay. So it sounds like your hard drive is having problems, probably lopped off a sector that had part of your operating system in it. And then when you upgraded your operating system, it needed those files, couldn't find them, put something in its place, and the computer just went all wonky, and now we're trying to go back out of it again. So at this point, I would take your hard drive out, I'd put it into a dock, look at it from another computer, pull the files off that you can, and then also test the hard drive to see if it's failing, and if it is, replace it. That would be my bet. That would be what I would do. But I would also make sure that the hard drive's failing and then go from there. Yeah. This one's a good one. Hearing random Chinese voices or Asian voices of some type from my laptop. I started hearing what sounds like Chinese or some other language talk show coming from my laptop. It was mixed with a short 1 to 2 second scratchy bursts of music that kept cutting off, which also sounds like effects from my game. I was playing a game, and I closed the game when I was loading onto a server I just connected to so I could go do something. Expected the game to cut off the sound effects, but the window wouldn't close, so I forcefully shut down it from Task Manager. While all this was happening, a Chinese voice I mentioned earlier was blasting on my laptop speakers. It also wasn't playing through my connected headset, which I also thought was weird. Okay, that's a good clue. I've run a deep scan on my laptop, including Windows Defender. Also did a bit of independent research. Usual answers were either malware or cheap quality speakers interfering with radio frequencies and stuff. I ended up shutting down my laptop and opened it again to run the virus check I mentioned earlier. I'm super virus paranoid and want to see if it's truly safe. And after back and forth, he said I did do a full scan, an offline Windows Defender scan, but showed no results and told me I'm safe, but still suspicious. Okay, so I've seen this before and I've heard of this before, and it most likely is what you said. It's most likely radio interference. This is crazy. There's local radio channels. There's a lot of things that we can pick up with our speakers, especially if they're not shielded. The fact that you couldn't hear them through your headphones tells me that it's something to do with your speakers. There was a guy a couple years back, evidently. I remember this story. It was wanted to watch TV with wireless headphones. They were just some off-brand wireless headphones, which usually means that they're not shielded, which usually means they're using some standard band that everything else uses. They don't have to pay the money to the FCC. And then when they put it on before turning on the TV, the person could hear shouting and shooting and general video game sounds like first-person shooter, like type sounds with some static noise. And it turns out a guy was playing Call of Duty on wireless headphones 3 houses down, and the signal was received through the walls. The signal was received through those non-shielded things. So I think it's a shielding thing. I'd be curious to see how old those speakers are. I'd be curious to see if you unplug the speakers and you don't hear it at all, or if you get another set of speakers, if it'll do it. But most likely it's shielding. Most likely it's some other broadcast that you're picking up from something else, and it's just crosstalk. And crosstalk kind of sucks. Yeah. All right, got a couple minutes here. Let's see if we can shoot through these last 2. Windows 10 can't repair the system after Windows found an error. I think the latest update broke my operating system for me. I got a, quote, Windows found an error and will restart in 1 minute, unquote, and then it restarted. Now it can't restore the system. All the options of restoring earlier updates or states are either fail or not available, and reinstall Windows option also fails. Cannot use command prompt because it says BitLocker has locked my hard drive, so no command options or restore or remove files. What do I do? Well, if you don't have backup files from the disk, it's going to be hard to restore them without your BitLocker key. You can get your BitLocker key through the Microsoft account if you have it saved that place. But if you don't have anything important, install Windows again. You'll need another computer with access to the internet, and that's the best thing to do. That's a kind of a nuclear option. If you have that other computer, you can download the Windows Assistant tool, boot to that on your broken computer, and then do a check disk from that. If you do a check disk from that, then you're kind of running the machine's check disk from an off state rather than having the machine running like another car analogy, running, have the motor running and then trying to reach in and change a piston or something. You're not gonna be able to do that. We have to turn the car off. Same thing with the computer. We have to turn the computer off. If we don't turn the computer off, system processes are still running and you can't get in there to change any of those system processes. So so we got to turn it off. And by doing that, if we download the system disk, the Windows the creation tool, and then boot to that, then the system will be dormant and you'll run all the tools off of the external disk rather than running the tools off the hard drive you're trying to fix. That makes sense. So, first thing I would do is find that BitLocker key. Before you wipe everything, before you get rid of everything, see if you have the BitLocker key, and you can get to that through your Microsoft account. If you can't do that, or if you can't figure that out, email me, Luigi, Luigi, at ksqd.org, and I'd be happy to walk you through that process, or at least give you a pointer to the right thing. Okay, well, one last email question here. This says dumb question, but I kind of want to talk about it real quick. It says, is it safe to install a CMOS battery when the computer's powered on? Okay, CMOS battery, complementary metal oxide semiconductor. It's a small watch battery that actually holds the date and time on your computer. It says, I know it's not the safest idea. I have an older PC I'm using as a Linux server. I need to power the computer down completely to troubleshoot the CD drive, but the problem is the CMOS battery was missing when I got the computer. It hasn't been a problem yet, but I haven't turned the thing off since I got it, and Ubuntu has been able to reboot without any problem. Me wanting to do this is I don't have a spare monitor. I can easily use to set up the BIOS afterwards. It's hard for me since I have a broken leg and all the monitors we have are in use. I'm thinking of using some tape to keep a hold of the battery so it doesn't actually fall into the motherboard or something. I assume it doesn't drop the battery, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so yes, you can install a CMOS battery with the machine running, but it's not wise because you could drop the battery and short something inside it. So just if you've been restarting just fine without it, just turn it off and put the battery in. It's not a big deal because at that point, you've already been running. So but I'd really rather you not install the CMOS battery. Yes, you can do it. It doesn't mess up anything system-wise, but if you drop it on a running machine and short two things, that thing goes, it's done. It's done. So yeah, it would be much safer to turn it off. Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if I missed your call tonight, go reach me by email, Luigi at ksqd.org. Remember to tune in to the Computer Man Show Tuesday night from 6 to 7 p.m. here on 90.7 FM, K-Squid, KSQD. I'd like to thank all my listeners and my callers. Thank you, KSQD, Sandy Stoner, Harold Facing, Richard, Gibbon, Tibbet, Kibber, John Sanders, all Santa Cruz, Nicholas, of the Wasp, Mr. Case Controls, and of course, the humble Electron. Thank you again, Santa Cruz. I'm your Computer Man here on K-Squid, KSQD, 90.7 FM, and KSQD.org. Stay tuned right here for Be in the Night. I hope you all have a positively charged evening. Until next time.